What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, ready to talk some football with Andy Herman from the Pack-A-Day podcast after the Green Bay Packers go and do something they haven't done since 1970. That's march into Pittsburgh and get a win. How you feeling on this Victory Monday, Andy?
Aaron, I feel great. That's kind of exactly what we wanted this game to be: entertaining, fun. Aaron had a solid game. Jordan had a better game. Packers come out with a win. And I think we feel pretty good coming out of that one. I think some of the first half stuff is still a little bit perplexing. I think, as Schneidman tweeted out, 7.7 points per game in the last three first halves on average, but just absolutely nuclear in the second half of games as of late. So
Truly.
Still trying to figure out some of the complexities of that. But overall, 35-25 win in Pittsburgh. Like you said, a place they haven't won since 1970. Feeling pretty good about it.
Let's start with Jordan Love, since he's really the kind of the headline here, the torch being passed, as it were. And you indicated Rodgers had a good game. I thought his team let him down way more than, any kind of bad play he might have had. But you look at Jordan Love, his team absolutely supported him, but he also made play after play. I mean, clearly you have a stretch where he has 20 completions in a row. That's not by accident, right? But man, you just look at the way he really came alive in that second half. And I do think some of that is the play caller putting a few more things on his plate and allowing him the freedom at the line of scrimmage. You saw a lot of the cans, a lot of the kind of check with me stuff at the line of scrimmage. Jordan really felt like he made a statement with this game. And it's not like he's going to be beating his chest about it, because that's just not the kind of guy he is. But damn it, if I'm going to do it, you better believe it, because it felt like a statement for him to the rest of the league saying, yeah, I'm one of the top quarterbacks in this league.
It was so fun. A Jordan Love heater is a really, really fun thing. And we've seen him go through some of these games and stretches before where he just sees everything perfectly. And it felt like he was on one of those in this game. Again, 20 consecutive completions. Are you kidding me? And the completion percentage would have even been better had it not been for a couple drops early on in this game, which is a remarkable thing to say based on what his overall stat line ended up being. I liked how he didn't necessarily shy away from, like, he wanted this game. He wanted to play well in this game. Yeah. He understood the expectations and what was going to be talked about. And he could have gone with some generic talking points. It's just any other Sunday, and we're just treating it like any other game. He knew, what was going to be talked about, and he went out and he owned it. He had his best possible performance. This was a really, really fun game from him overall. And I thought, even just going back to the Arizona game, where you and I talked about it as well, there were opportunities to take some of the easy stuff, the checkdowns, the quick throws, and at times even going against the too high safety looks. It felt like he maybe got a little bit greedy at times. In this game, it felt like he had the perfect pulse on exactly when to go long, when to take the chances, when to take the easy stuff, when to take the checkdowns. Didn't ever really feel like he forced anything too much. I know there's the play to Tucker that gets popped up. I think that's probably a little bit more of an intentional play if he doesn't get drilled on the play.
As he's letting it go.
Yeah, as he's letting it go. And even then, it's a 50-50 to Tucker Kraft in that situation. I don't even necessarily hate it. So I just thought he was on fire, and it was really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, on that Kraft play, he clearly knows what the matchup is because of the pressure coming at him. He knows he's got one-on-one, and I feel pretty solid if I'm a quarterback, quote, throwing it up to Tucker Kraft and asking him to go win it, in which he obviously did. But man, there's that, and then there's the throw across his body to Christian Watson. And it's like, those are the plays that you certainly don't teach it that way. That's not going to be on the kind of coach's tape, right?
Yep.
During the offseason when you're practicing whatever fundamentals you're working on. But they are special moments from a special player where it does feel like, because the Packers have had such elite quarterback play for so long, we somewhat, it feels like, as a fan base, kind of take it for granted that we have one of these players that can make some of these incredible plays. And now, after 30 years, it's always, well, yeah, that's what Packers quarterbacks do, right? No, that is not what any quarterback does. It's really special stuff that augments all the kind of in rhythm in the structure of the offense. But man, when you need a play or you need a little bit of inspiration or a little bit of magic, it's crazy how Jordan seems to continue to go to the well and just come up with a bucket of water, because now this is like 4 or 5 weeks in a row where the second half, like you said, he's dug deep and he's delivered.
Yeah, very much. This is not meant to say anything negative about Aaron, especially, again, coming off, it's going to maybe sound this way after a game where they played against him last night, but there were definitely times, again, 4-time MVP. We know all the accolades with Aaron, love him, what he did for Green Bay. There were still times where I wanted Aaron to say, hey, I have a guy 50-50, and I want my guy to be able to go up and get the ball at times. And when you do have a Tucker Kraft one-on-one or a Christian Watson one-on-one in some of those scenarios, yeah, it might look like a 50-50, but it's actually tilting in your favor because of who they are as players and what they can go out and do. And I don't mind those decisions, every now and again. And I thought he did a really good job of 99% of the time playing within the structure of the game when he could. But then when he had to have a play or when he thought there was a chance to say, you know what, this is, even though it's a 50-50, maybe it's actually better than that. I'm going to let my guy go have a chance. It was in the right moment at the right time. And Tucker Kraft, the way that he was playing, and Christian Watson, what he can do, you feel good about those guys, at least breaking it up, if not coming down with the ball. And in both cases they did. And it was huge plays in the game.
You mentioned Watson. What a boost, right? I mean, just to have him out there, but also contributing both as a pass catcher, but also in the run game, in some of the run alert stuff on the first Tucker Kraft touchdown. This is what they've, I'm not going to say been missing, but they certainly, it's a breath of fresh air to have him out there. And he does everything we talked about, kind of came to fruition in game one, as far as opening things up, being just another dependable target late in that first half. I know it ends up in a missed kick. We'll talk about that later, but Love sets the protection pre-snap. He sees what he's got, a one-on-one. Watson up the right sideline. He rips like a 25-yarder, pinpoint accuracy, and Watson does a phenomenal job of coming down, making sure his feet are in bounds, getting out of bounds to stop the clock. I mean, that's the kind of thing that makes, ripping off 20 yards, 20-plus yards, it looks effortless, but that is special stuff. That is not easy, and the two of them make it look easy. So Watson being back out there as advertised, and that's just game one.
I cannot say enough. I'm still just sort of mind blown with the fact that guy coming off of a major ACL and MCL injury. First of all, if you would have said the over-under was around like 30 snaps, I would have bet aggressively on the under.
Right.
And he plays 35 snaps in this game. I can now see why every time anyone was asked about how Christian Watson looked, there was a smile and everyone's like, yeah, he looks amazing. I see that very much so now. And then to have the rhythm and timing with Aaron on with Jordan on some of these plays. I knew I was going to do that eventually. With Jordan on.
I did it last night live on Watch Party. It's all good, man.
Yes, but the rhythm and timing with Jordan already, him coming back, and then the blocking ability, the downfield ability, the intermediate, like he just showed everything of why he's so important. And as Matt mentioned as well, such a team-oriented player. You feel so great for him. He gets that injury in what was going into a contract year. Green Bay looks great for signing him to that 1-year extension based on just how he looked last night. And to your point, just one game back, and it's probably going to get even better from here on out. But it was a piece that was missing, and you need special players doing special things. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Tucker Kraft as well, but his yards after the catch ability is a special superpower within this offense. We saw it on full display yesterday, but having that downfield threat and all the things that Christian Watson brings to the table is special as well. I can't wait till Jaden Reed gets back to kind of complete the set of everything that they have going on in this offense. But getting him back, seeing what he could do, it was awesome to see yesterday.
It's interesting you mentioned Kraft because there's not much I can kind of add there, right? Or expound upon that everyone didn't watch themselves. As far as like his run after the catch ability, just his pure playmaking ability, right? And then also like sealing the edge on TJ Watt for Emmanuel Wilson to rip off a 20-yarder up the right sideline. I mean, he's a complete player. But it is interesting that you get Watson back, right? You've got Kraft, and Romeo Doubs is certainly getting his. So then we've got a little bit of social media controversy, Andy Herman. I know you're into the socials. You're one of the kids. You're hip. You're with it. Matthew Golden has deactivated his Instagram account. I mean, that just obviously means he's going to be a superstar in this league because he's exhibiting diva behavior. I am somewhat kidding, tongue in cheek here. However, it does kind of point out the issue of, there's only so many targets to go around, right? And I do think Golden is, if you put him on some truth serum, probably a little frustrated this far into his rookie season, probably especially coming off the summer that he had. He looked so good in training camp, so consistent, best hands on the team. And now he's fighting for, I'm not going to say scraps, but it's not like he's a major focus of this offense in any realistic way. He's certainly getting opportunities, but most of the kind of calls, most of the play calls, design, what have you, the play sheet is certainly not, there doesn't seem to be a big Matthew Golden section. And, like I said, I am joking about the Instagram stuff. But I got to imagine it probably is a little frustrating because he's oozing with talent, but there are a bunch of mouths to feed, and they are all veterans who are ahead of him on the depth chart.
And he's, like you said, he's a rookie. And I think this is just part of the growing pains in the NFL. When you're a young, talented wide receiver, you're a first round pick. The hype is, completely legitimate, and it's off the charts around what he looked like in training camp. And I'm sure he expected to come in and have, based on everything, probably like a 70 catch, near 1,000 yards, 6 touchdown season, something like that. And you get to the end of a game like this, and he's got 3 catches for 4 yards in this game. He had to play late in the game where he came open, what could have been a touchdown. And I don't know if Jordan just didn't look that way, or, obviously had to get rid of the ball quick. Right. I think that was on the lofted play to Emmanuel Wilson.
But, right side,
I just think it probably is a little bit of a thing of rhythm and timing. We know Jordan trusts Matthew. He's gone to him in some key 4th down big situations and have to have it moments. We know those plays are going to come, but this is just going to be the DNA of this team. Of every single Monday, every single Let's Talk Football, there's going to be a player we're talking about
who's left out.
Why didn't this player get the ball on this given day? And we've seen it with Kraft. We've seen it with Jacobs in the past. We've seen it with Dobbs. I'm sure we're going to see it with Watson. We've seen it with Golden. It's just like, why didn't they get this player involved? It's a really difficult thing to do. I'll just say, for me personally, when the team's putting up 360 passing yards and 35 points, man, I don't care if all 360 of those yards went to Bo Melton at this. I don't care at this point. If you're putting up that sort of production, like let the cards fall where they may. Matthew wasn't a huge impact in this one, but he will be in future ones, and they're certainly going to need him.
Yeah, and it's probably maybe not salt in the wound, but then Savion Williams there on essentially like a screenplay into the end zone, gets his first touchdown before Golden's been in the end zone. So like I said, I would get it if the kid is frustrated. There's zero doubt he's a competitor. He wants the ball. I have zero doubt he will, as you said, as the season goes on, he will be called upon in big moments. He already has been, and he's already delivered. Though that will happen in time.
And maybe there's a little, again, I don't know the whole situation. I think maybe there's some immaturity there. I want that attitude from him, like full stop. I want him to want to be that involved. I want him to want the ball that much. I want him to be somebody who wants to be a focal part of the offense. And again, it's going to come with time. So I'm happy that he's wired that way. And I'm sure some of if there is a mature, I'm sure some of that will iron itself out over time.
What did you make of the rotation along the offensive line, especially obviously at right guard? I got to admit, there was a moment, I want to say like halfway through the second quarter, maybe it was in the third quarter, but I had just assumed that Jordan Morgan was playing right guard. And then I just kept seeing Sean Ryan, and I said, oh, well, they're really rotating. And Sean Ryan played a hell of a lot in this game after barely playing these last couple games. So interesting that they pulled that trigger. And I think I counted like twice where Ryan was beat pretty easily off the line, like instantly, right? But for the most part, I thought he held up pretty well. What did you see?
Yeah, I like Sean Ryan. I'm kind of a Sean Ryan guy. I think Mike Wall and I are a little bit more in the Sean Ryan camp. I know others are in the more of the Jordan Morgan camp. I just think that neither of those players are playing to a level where you just say, yep, it's an easy decision. Why isn't Jordan Morgan always out there? Why isn't Sean Ryan? I think it's one of those in the spirit of competition. I think they need to be better along the interior of the offensive line, especially when it comes to run blocking. I still need to see better play from Elton Jenkins. I still need to see better play from Aaron Banks. Well, I'm going to go on a slight tirade, so my apologies for taking over, Aaron.
Yours, sir.
We hear all of the stuff about play calling, or Matt LaFleur takes his foot off the gas, or he doesn't know what he's doing. There's some stuff in this game, in the last couple of games, from some of the runs from shotgun and some of the. I'm not absolving those in any way, shape, or form. I think there needs to be a better level of creativity. I think Matt's better than that. I think he can come up with some better stuff than some of those things. Of all those complaints in general, though, if they are run blocking better, I think all of that basically goes out the window, 100%. Especially on the interior. So the simplest thing to say is they have to run the football. I think I'm safe in saying if they don't run the football at all, that's going to ultimately be a problem at some point in time. And they have to find a way to do it better. And I think some of their issues in these first 3 games, I'm sure they went into Cincinnati, Arizona, and Pittsburgh, all 3 of those, and looked at it and said, oh, this is the game we're going to be able to run the football. We're going to run the football. So they open up with run heavy stuff, and they want to get that run game going. They're trying everything they can to finally get this run game where it needs to be. And for the however many consecutive games now, they haven't been able to do it. And so they make the adjustment at halftime and say, all right, well, that piece of it's off the table. Jordan, it's your time. And they've gone nuclear in the second half. We've also seen it where in the first half against Detroit, Washington, some of these teams, they go really, really well in the first half. And then guess what? All right, well, we got to find time. We have to figure out a way to establish this run game. So they try to establish the run game in the second half. It's, oh, Matt's taking his foot off the gas. What is he doing? He doesn't have that killer instinct. It's just that the run game isn't working. And that also, by the way, does not absolve Matt. Matt is in charge of figuring out a way to get that run game going and to make it functional. So that I'm saying as a play caller, a little bit forgiveness. As a coach, I'm not willing to forgive all of it in any way, shape, or form, but they've got to figure out a way to run the football more effectively and more efficiently. And all of those complaints of the lulls or the play calling or the taking your foot off the gas go away almost instantaneously. And I just think that that is the biggest thing holding this team back. And in all of that being said, Aaron, they're fifth in the league in scoring at 27 plus points per game. And they're still putting up a ton of points. So,
I hear you though. Okay. I'm really glad you framed it that way because this is literally going to be kind of my jumping off point for daily today. And I very much agree with your sentiment that they absolutely need to play better along the front when it comes to blocking in the run game and particularly along the interior. They're not getting off their double teams and getting to that second level to create lanes, let alone just any kind of room for Josh Jacobs or whoever, right? And I'm also glad you framed it in these last 3 games, right? Because this has been where they finally had some semblance of, I'm not going to say normalcy, but their preferred starters along the line, right? Like you've had 3 games now where, okay, you've kind of been able to get into something of a groove and understand who you are. And at some point, you are who you are. And I do think these last 3 games have opened a window to what should be, I think, a little obvious that it's time to switch your mentality as an offense to we can throw the ball, we can use the quick game, we can do all of this with Jordan Love on under center in the gun, whatever, to set up the running game rather than utilizing the run game to get into play action, set up the stuff in the passing game that they have done very successfully at times. But man, it's so inconsistent. You cannot count on it. And to your point, they've tried desperately to make it work in the first half of these games. And it has been hard to watch and very inconsistent. And it's, stunted them offensively. And yet here they are. They're still, like you said, one of the top scoring teams in the league. If they come out and just, I want to say, let Jordan Love throw it around the yard, but put the ball in Love's hands initially out of the gate and then use the running game as a complement. I know they want to use Josh Jacobs. I know he's been the engine, but I think last night showed everybody Jordan's ready, man. Jordan's ready to take control. I just think if they make a slight tweak in that regard, it should help them and it should help the running game. On top of all this, they've been pretty damn good in pass pro. It's not, they haven't been lights out, but man, there are so many instances last night where you're, whoa, Jordan Love's got time in the pocket. He's got time to survey the field, right?
Really good pass rushers too.
So again, against a team that has wrecked offenses. They had a stretch of games where they were putting 4 or 5 sacks every game. And the Packers, essentially gave Jordan Love all the time he needed last night. So my thing on the road, by the way, where this team has really struggled, especially up front. So my thing is just switch it around, man. Let Jordan drive and use Josh, use Emmanuel to be your counterpunch. And then especially in the second half, when you have scored a ton of points, use Josh Jacobs to be your battering ram. Take the air out of the game with a lead, get to the end, go home, crack a beer, have a great time. Because like right now, it is just game after game after game where they are just banging their head against a wall and it is not helping them in any way.
And they do have so much stuff in their passing game too that's basically just an extension of the run game, and that stuff.
Williams' touchdown is a perfect example.
Exactly, and that stuff is working. So I do think they need to just figure out that right rhythm, consistency, timing of all of those play calls and how they want to sequence everything. It just has felt a little bit off. And again, I'm sure they went into these games feeling like they were going to be able to run the football, and they just couldn't. And it probably is time for just a dynamic change of what they want to do early in games.
That's the point too. Like these are defenses that have been run on. Hell, the Bengals ran all over the Steelers and they can't run the ball a lick. At some point, again, you are who you are and you got to be honest about it. Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to start with the tough stuff. I mean, what a burn the tape game from Keyshawn Nixon. And he's had a bit of a rough stretch here. I don't think anybody's going to confuse him with one of the top corner in the league, but he's a better player than he's shown over the last couple games, and he's certainly better than he showed last night.
I think so too. That was a tough one. You listen, we all hate the pass interference play where they come back to the football. It's just but it is, that's like,
It's a
that's
smart
the
play
call.
on the receiver's part.
It's a smart play on the receiver, and the quarterback's giving him a chance, and you got to get your head turned and make a play on it. Maybe the holding penalty was a little bit ticky tacky, but even just in pure coverage, he struggled. I get, DK Metcalf on a slant in the end zone is no picnic. That's you got to hang with him sometimes, but you start adding all of this up through the course of a half, and it's not good enough. And listen, I know that they've gone against some good receivers in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, George Pickens. We can go on and on, Marvin Harrison Jr. But that's going to be life in the NFL every single week. You got 2 more games against Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, potentially AJ Brown, likely AJ Brown coming back, Devontae Smith. And you're going to see all those type of receivers in the playoffs as well. To me, if the run offense and the run blocking is the Achilles heel right now in offense, the cornerback play is the Achilles heel. I thought it was wise to go to Carrington Valens. I didn't think they had the
chutzpah.
Yeah, that was going to go there. I didn't think they were going to just go full on of like.
I was going to ask you, were you surprised? I was shocked. I mean, I don't get shocked easily, and I was shocked that Nate Hobbs
rotation. I would have said for sure, absolutely.
They
can totally
legit said, Valentine, you're up.
Yep. And then, but yeah, they said it's Valentine's and Hobbs. You're playing 3-4 snaps in this game. So but I thought it was the right move. And I thought Valentine, for the most part, couple hiccups here and there, but I thought he played well in this game. But that corner room is just so inconsistent right now. You don't know what you're going to get from any of those 3 guys. Even Valentine really struggled when he came in that Dallas game. So it's just a hold your breath moment right now when they're throwing to the outsides. And I think you've got to find a way to either, pick those guys up and have them play a bit more consistent. I don't think Green Bay is going to make some crazy move at the deadline. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, they've got to figure out a way to get those guys playing more consistently.
I mean, obviously, the best way to do that is put the quarterback on his back, and they did that a number of times last night. I mean, just what incredible work from Parsons and Gary and really everybody up front. Enik Bari had a good game, I thought.
He's been really good.
It was fun to watch, and it's funny because I spent the whole week just worrying about Aaron Rodgers picking the Packers defensive backs apart, right? And certainly he had his moments, but man, they kept him in those third and kind of longer down and distances, and they just ate. It was so fun to watch as far as Parsons, obviously draws attention and opens things up. But even when he wasn't getting to the quarterback, he was making Rodgers get out of the pocket or step up into other guys and into other pressure. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Not to get into politics, but I will support the next candidate who ultimately fights for common sense intentional grounding laws in the NFL. Just some common sense intentional grounding rules would be great in this country to have. You cannot spike the ball at a running back's foot who's blocking, who has no idea that there's even a ball coming. You're clearly being sacked. You're clearly being brought to the ground, and you're just going to spike it by the letter of the law. Unbelievable play by Aaron and the right call by the officials. But can we please have just a tiny bit of common sense?
Why is it even on the books? Like it doesn't matter. You saw it in Dallas when Dak throws it into nothingness, and there was a receiver in the area of I guess
what's
Oklahoma,
the area? Area 51.
I don't know
how big is this thing.
But it's like you see it every week, every single game. At some point, a quarterback throws something that has no business not getting a flag, and they just go, "Oh, there's a receiver, so 20 feet within the area of the ball." I guess. Like that.
I get you don't want officials to get into the interpretation of stuff in like real time, but like that's a clear and obvious, like what he's trying to do. He's just trying to avoid the sack. There's no intent to complete anything on that play. You're in the pocket, you're going down. That's one where you go back to you take the poll of 10 people in a bar and ask them, is that intentional grounding or not? And they're like, clearly that's a 10 for 10 intentional grounding in that situation, but it is what it is. I'll
take a live feed in a bar that they cut to whenever these plays come up rather than listening to another like hour-long dissertation from Sean Hockley and crew. That's all I'm saying. I think it'd be a much more efficient use of our time. Speaking of efficiency or lack thereof, We got a kicker controversy on our hands there, Herman. What's going on?
Who knows? I don't know
You
that
asked
I
for
have this.
competency and you got anything but last night, sir.
We get incompetency. This is here. Let me pull up my handy dandy notes from. We've got a holding on a kick return.
Yep.
We've got a kickoff that goes
Allowed
into the end
to
zone.
hit the
That
end zone
brings it to the
after hitting
35.
the landing zone. Yep.
You've got a kick return to the 25. You've got 2 missed field goals, a muff punt, a holding on a punt return, another one that you kicked into the end zone that it brought it, or sorry, they kicked through the landing zone into the end zone to bring it to the 20. And you had another kick return that only got out to the 23-yard line. Outside of that, they were pretty darn good on special teams. Daniel Whalen did have one inside the 20. Romeo Dobbs at least could catch the punt, and
I'm shocked how much I like Romeo Dobbs on punt return.
I agree.
I'm shocked.
Did you see? I forget who it was that tweeted it. That said, my favorite thing of Romeo Dobbs as a punt returner is it looks like he immediately forgot whether or not he called a fair catch.
Fair catch. And he's like, wait, I guess I should run.
Go. Okay. But no,
I love it.
Listen, he's competent. He's competent as a punt returner. I will take competence. And as far as the kicking situation, this felt like maybe they just brought McManus back a week too early. I'm sure they're going to probably have to see how he's feeling after that game and what they're feeling this week. Now he's kicking in Lambeau. That's probably a little bit of a more friendly confines for him. I still don't think there's a controversy here. I still expect Manis to be the guy, but man, kicker's a weird thing. And when you've got a guy that's hot and you've got a guy that's missed some field goals that you weren't expecting him to miss, weird things happen in the NFL when those things happen. So I expect McManus, but at kicker, nothing would surprise me. With Packers special teams, nothing would surprise me.
Truly.
Except competence. That would surprise me.
That would be a shock to the system. I mean, they kept Harvick around. They cut Ben Sims instead.
They did.
I don't know, man. I know we're about to hear from LaFleur in about half an hour here. Who knows? Anything could happen. I mean, they could put, and this is probably what they should have done in the first place, is just put McManus on IR. Let him sit out for 4 weeks, get right as rain, let Haversick go. So go kick for you for a month. That's a possibility.
I think there's a little bit of a benefit of hindsight of like when you pick up Haversick, you're not expecting him to go 8 of 8 on kicks to begin
his franchise record.
You're worried for the worst in that situation that you've got another Narvison situation or something where he's just not making anything, and then you're like, oh, we could have had McManus back at this point. And you're like, oh man, why is he on IR? So the roster spot hasn't cost them anything at this point. I mean, they'll get him back on the practice squad would be my guess. I don't think there's any risk of losing Ben Sims. So I don't think it's cost them anything, but they do have a decision to make. I'm expecting McManus, but we'll see.
We shall see. Andy, it's always a joy, always a pleasure, especially on a Victory Monday. I'll talk to you later this week when we preview the showdown with the Panthers. Thanks so much, man.
Can't wait. Thanks so much, Aaron.